Why do we like automation games? Like, no, really. I'm working on my own automation game, Starground, and solving this problem and understanding the root of this is critical to make satisfying gameplay. I practically have a bachelor's degree in automation gaming at this point, so if anyone is going to try and figure out why it's so addicting to play games like Factorio, Satisfactory, or Audinauts, then I'm that person. I think we really need an endless cycle of problem solution to make this whole process fun. I love how the automation genre is essentially just a constant puzzle game. There's always a logistical problem to solve. You know, how can I mine this faster? How can I make this easier? How can I fix this bottleneck? And after solving each one of those mini problems, you feel good about yourself for succeeding, but you also build up this snowball of progress until you eventually make a breakthrough. That could be a new technology or maybe that high tier resource you've been waiting for. But now the question changes. How can we abuse this feeling in our own game? There's really one machine that opens everything up to us, something you will always find in almost every automation game. In Factorio, that's the assembler. In Satisfactory, that's the constructor. Fear not, my friend. In Starground, the crafter is here for us all. Constantly solving problems makes us feel like we're actually doing something productive and meaningful when we can look back on our progress and see how we've improved. Even if it's just a bunch of zeros and ones on a computer, the AutoCrafter is our way to automate this process of faking our own productivity. It's funny because we're not doing anything at all. We're just kind of letting the game do it for us. But it feels awesome to do that anyways. I wanted to improve upon the usual cold, industrial, and unloving look for these crafters you see in all the other automation games though. So I made my little crafter a robot guy. He's there ready to help you out, and he focuses as hard as he can when it's time to get to work. Select recipe, put the ingredients in, and he's off. The thing with automation is that a machine like this is not really anything by itself, but you build an army of these, and that's when you can really start getting into the substance of an automation game. But we can't do that without any items to actually make, so we have to plan out a progression tree. Right now in the game we have iron. Iron is a great structural element in a lot of stuff. We also have stone and the recently added stone brick, which is great for more unrefined structure like a foundation or maybe a floor. What Starground is missing right now though is something that can open us up to more advanced components, not just something for structure. So I added copper. The actual properties of copper doesn't really matter much, but it's a great transmitter of energy. Think, you know, heat and electricity, for example. Refine copper into wiring, and now we have electricity, we have circuits, we have computers, we have logic, we have AI. The list goes on. Anyways, you can mine copper ore, refine it into ingots, and you can make wiring if you use the crafter now. I also added gears, which is great for things that move a lot, like for example, faster conveyors, splitters, collectors, just all sorts of different machines like that. What I'm really aiming for with adding recipes into the game is just making sure they make sense. And they always have to have a reason to exist. Like for example, at some point I want to add a foundry, which will be a machine that can be used to form alloys. If the machine is made out of iron and copper, that wouldn't make much sense since melting those would melt the whole machine. So that would be the case where I end up adding some kind of like reinforced plating, you know, that could withstand hotter temperatures. And that same reinforced plating would be used in maybe upgraded collectors and machines that work harder and faster, things that just warrant a stronger material. The crafter and our first few recipes really starts us on our ultimate automation journey of creating an expansive tree of useful and interesting recipes to make. Really the next milestone for automation will have to be the research tree. Consumption of your resources is something that has to happen in an automation game. So we need a way to create an infinite sink of those resources so that you can keep playing. Otherwise, you're just gonna get all the stuff you need and then stop playing because your factory doesn't have to exist anymore. Research is exactly how we tackle that. We'll have a machine that takes in resources and analyzes them, destroying them in the process. This will eventually build us up research credits, and if we've already hit the first tier of research, then we're going to require tier 2 items, so that there's actually kind of a reason to make more advanced stuff. If that's where we're headed, what else is there to tackle right now? One issue has always been how resources spawn in Starground. Since they kind of just show up randomly around the whole map, what can tend to happen is that you build up a bunch of resources over here without a collector, and eventually you hit the entire resource cap in just this region, and they just stop spawning in range of your collectors. This is a huge problem. Essentially means you can't automate anything until you cover the whole map. which should really only happen much later on. I needed to make these resources over here despawn, because this gives other spots in the map a chance to get more resources again. Now whenever resource is created, it has a lifetime between 30 and 120 seconds, and once that hits, resource is gone. I obviously need to add an animation. Right now it just kind of disappears, but it's there. Now we can just keep kind of marching on from this point. Add more machines, add more recipes. We want to make automation just a more involved process, since just making some wires and gears is sort of aimless. We have to constantly have a problem to solve, and as soon as we solve it, the next one needs to show up for us. If any of you have ideas on different machines or items that you think could make the automation fun, let me know in the comments. I read every single one, and I would love to hear all of your ideas. So thanks for tuning in. If you want to keep up to date, join the Discord and check out the game dev streams on Twitch, linked below, and consider becoming a member on Ko-fi to support development of Starground. Big thanks to our Ko-fi member, Ben Newman. I appreciate you.